Hi everyone, so this is 12.5 retake remedial work. So this worksheet needs to be completed and turned in before you do your retake. If you don't want to do the retake of 12.5, then you do not have to complete this. Okay, this is an opportunity for those that didn't do well and want to do better to get a chance to get their questions asked, practice, and then do better, okay? If you do the retake and you do worse, I will take the higher of the two scores. However, make sure you complete this beforehand, otherwise I'm not going to grade your retake. Okay, so let's jump in. For our first video, we are only going to do the first 4 problems today, okay? So for number 1, it says we do. So we're going to do this one together, okay? So I'm looking at this problem, and the first thing that I notice is that it is addition, okay? So big change from what we learned in this past week, okay? So it's addition, so let's be aware of that. The second thing I notice is that I have denominators that are the same. This makes my life super easy when they are the same, okay? When my denominator is the same, I can write this all as one fraction. So I'm going to write this as, sorry about that, I'm going to write this as 14x to the third, then plus 4x to the third, all over, and I only have to write my denominator once. So I'm going to put 9x to the fourth. Okay, make sure that your denominator is the same denominator that you highlighted before. Okay. As we move on to that next step, we are going to go ahead and combine our like terms. Okay. Remember, like terms are anything that have that same variable and exponent. Okay. So in this case, we have x to the third connected to this 14, and x to the third connected to this 4. Those are like terms. We can combine them. Okay. So if I were to go ahead and combine 14 and 4, I would get 18x to the third. Okay. And this is still going to be over that same denominator of 9x to the fourth. Now, a lot of people in the first test said that they were done here, but you are not. Okay, you need to make sure you simplify. Okay, so if I'm going to go through and simplify, first I want to look at my numbers. I have 19 over 9, and I ask myself, do these numbers have anything in common? Yes, they do. 9 goes into both of them. So I'm going to change my 18, and I'm going to do 18 divided by 9, which is 2. That 2 is going to replace the 18. Since I divided that one by 9, I'm going to take my 9 and divide it by 2. Or divide it by 9, sorry. And then I will get 1. Okay. So now my numbers are done. I can't reduce 2 over 1 any further. So moving on to my variables, I'm looking at x to the third over x to the fourth. Okay. So this x to the third would be the same thing as x times x times x. There's 3 of them. So I'm going to rewrite it like that. And I'm going to do the same thing for my x to the fourth, but this time there's going to be 4 of them. Okay. So if I were to change that, and then I could go ahead and cross them off. So if I cross 1 off on the top, I have to cross 1 off on the bottom. If I cross another one on the top, another one on the bottom, a third and a third. Okay, so there's no more x's on the top, and there's 1 in the bottom. Okay. So that tells me that my final answer should be 2, because there's nothing else on the top, over 1x. So I could put 1x, or I could just put x. Either's fine. That would be simplified. Now going back, there is another way to look at this. Okay, I went ahead and took away how I crossed off my x's. The other way we know how to solve when we are dividing exponents is we take 3 minus 4. Okay, so if I did 3 minus 4, that would give me negative 1. And I know if there's a negative 1, okay, oops. I know if I have a negative 1 that I'm going to have that 1, and it's going to be in the denominator because it's 1. So that 4 becomes a 1, and that 3 is going to disappear at that point. Okay, and not only does that 3 disappear, since all of them disappeared, the x is also going to disappear. Okay, if we go ahead and rewrite this, I only have that 2 left on the top, and I have a 1x left on the bottom. 1x or 1x to the first. Okay, or I could just put 2 over x. Okay, that would be my final answer. It was the same as we got previously. Okay, so now I want you to go ahead and do a very similar problem number 2. This is a you do. So go ahead and follow those steps. Make sure you're looking at it carefully and then get your answer checked. If you did not get 6 over x as your final answer, please make sure that you go back, check your work, see where you went wrong, and then ask your teacher for help. Looking at number 3, it's very similar. The first thing we want to do is make sure we figure out what type of problem we are doing. So I see a minus, okay? So I see a minus, I automatically know I'm going to have to distribute, okay? I also see that my denominators are the same, okay? So that makes it a little bit easier for us, so I can go ahead and combine into one fraction. When I go ahead and combine those, we will have a denominator of x squared minus 64. Again, exactly the same. I'm going to keep my first fraction numerator, so I'm going to put 5x plus 6, but now I need to be careful. Because I have this minus, I need to make sure that I distribute that, or that I change it to a plus and a minus, and change it to a plus, and when I do that, I change my other signs. Okay. So what this means is that my 4x will now be negative 4x, and my negative 2 will be a positive 2. Now I can go ahead and combine my like terms. Looking for like terms, we have 5x, because it has an x attached to it, and negative 4x. And then we have this positive 6 and this positive 2. So if I go ahead and rewrite this, I'm going to combine my 5x and negative 4x to get positive x. Then I'm going to combine my 6 and my 2 to get 8. This is still over x squared minus 64. Well, now I'm looking at it and I think I'm done, okay? But I want to try to reduce just like I did before. However, remember when we're reducing and we have these terms, we have safety of parentheses around them, okay? I can't split them up, so I need to see if I can factor them. Well, x plus 8 can't be factored. It doesn't have a greatest common factor, it's not a difference of two squares, and it's not a trinomial. In my denominator, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that x plus 8. Okay. In my denominator, I have x squared minus 64. Well, it doesn't have a greatest common factor, but it is a difference of two squares. So I know I can rewrite my pairs of parentheses. I can take the square root of x squared, which is x. I can take the square root of 64, which is 8. And then I'll have 1 plus and 1 minus. Now when I look to reduce, I have an x plus 8 in my numerator and an x plus 8 in my denominator. So when I rewrite this one again, it'll be 1 over x minus 8. Okay, and that is finalized. That you can even put your parentheses around that, so you know you can't break it down any further. Okay. Now again, go ahead and you do this problem. Okay. If you did not get 1 over x minus 9 as your final answer, please make sure you go double check your work or reach out to your teacher for help. Okay, those are all the problems we are going to do today, and check back in tomorrow so that we can do our next 4 problems.